Hey there guys, this is Don from Prana-Tech, and today's video I'm going to show you how to get your YESWELDER TIG 250p set up so that you can begin welding with it. This is a great little TIG welder that they came out with. It's a really small package, lightweight, but it's extremely powerful. And so when you get it, I want to help you get it set up right so that you can begin TIG welding and start to learn this amazing type of welding. We're going to show how to get it set up and how the features work for the control panel and get you started. That way you can start practicing, and later on I'm probably going to do a more advanced like aluminum welding setup and pulse setup and things like that. So I've got a few videos I've got planned, but we're going to just get it started today with how to set yours up and get started TIG welding. All right, let's get to it. So let's just go in with the setup on how to, once you get your welder and get it unboxed, there's a couple things you're going to need. You're going to need an argon regulator. This regulator, you can get them from Amazon for about, I think I paid $27 for this one. The YESWELDER didn't come with a regulator, so I had to use one that I bought already and for my other TIG. So if you're going to buy one, make sure you get a regulator. And I'll put a link in the description for which one I'm using from Amazon. I think it's either $27 or $28, so it's not that much of an expense. The other thing is that you'll obviously need a full-size tank or even a half-size tank, because you're going to need to get some straight argon, and that's the gas you're going to use mainly for TIG welding. There are some guys using a mixture of helium and argon for aluminum, and I do have a helium tank, and I do use that for thicker aluminum, but for basic setup all you need to worry about is getting a straight argon tank. And basically there's just one fitting on the back that you hook up. It comes with its own argon hose. It bolts right up to the argon regulator. You just screw it into the back of your fitting in the back of the TIG, and you're ready to go for gas. The other thing that you'll have to do is you'll have to just hook up your basic cables. This is your ground cable. And all you really need to do is just plug it in on the positive side, because with TIG we're going to run our ground as our positive and our electrode side as our negative. So hook up your ground. The next thing you're going to do is hook up your foot pedal. The YESWELDER does come with a variable amperage foot pedal. It's a very simple design, and it's just a 5-pin plug, and this will give you the capability to vary your amperage with a foot pedal. The torch itself that it comes with is a heavier duty than you usually see in the more economical TIGs out there. This one is a WP26, which is a heavier duty, more rugged TIG torch than what most of the smaller TIGs in the 200 amp range come with a 17 size torch. This one comes with a 26, so it's a big heavy duty TIG torch. It does also come with a remote trigger. So this is another thing you don't usually see on most TIGs. It has a thumb activation on the torch itself. This is really just a basic TIG start, and you can't vary your amperage. So if you need to get up underneath your car and you want to weld something at a fixed amperage like with steel, this is a great way to do it. You just hook up your torch and hook up your remote that's right at the end of the plug. So when you screw this in, you can screw this in to the 5-pin receptacle, and you're off and running with just a push button. Now this is just a simple activation of the TIG torch and the high frequency. It'll start the arc, and then it'll be at full amps. Whatever you've set the setting on the TIG is what you will get out of the torch. So there's no variability. So decide which one you're going to use when you hook up your TIG torch. For me, the majority of the time, I'm going to hook up my foot pedal. So most of the TIG welding that I do is all on my bench. It's usually much finer welding, things that I don't want to distort or have shrinkage and warpage. I'll usually TIG because that way I don't get jig fixtures and things like that. I don't get them warping and pulling like you do with the MIG welding. So I'm going to hook up the foot pedal, and all you do is basically line up. There's a little notch in the top of the 5-pin plug. Line it up with the notch, and then just turn the knob and thread it in. And that's really all you got to do. And for your TIG torch, same thing. It has just a straight gas connection right here. You're going to plug this into the threaded housing right here. This other port right here, it also comes with a stick welder lead, so that if you wanted to have 250 amp stick welder, you can do that. So it is giving you some more versatility in that way. But I'm not going to hook up the TIG torch because I'm going to use the foot pedal. So I'm going to leave that. And we're going to put together the TIG torch itself. So this is the way it comes from YESWELDER. It'll come with just the bare torch. And it also comes with a basic setup so that you can get started TIG welding. It's just got the 3 ceramic cups. Looks like it is a 4, 5, and maybe a 3, 4, and 5. Let me look. No, it's a 6. So a 4, 5, and a 6 for the ceramic cups, and it comes with 3 collets and a collet holder. The collet holders are 16th, 5/32, oh I'm sorry, 3/32, and 1/8 inch. So between those 3 you can pretty much do the full range of what this machine can do. The one thing you also have to note is that it doesn't come with any tungsten. So you're going to need to order some tungsten so that you can do welding right when you get the welder. If you're going to do mainly light stuff like sheet metal and really thin stuff, I would go with 16th inch. If you're going to be doing light all the way to heavy, I would get 3/32. That's pretty much what I use for almost everything. That'll take you up to about 220 amps. If you're going to weld really heavy, you're going to need to get the 1/8 inch tungsten. And the tungsten that I use is 2% lanthanated tungsten. It's got the blue stripe on the top. It's the best I've found for all around TIG welding, and it works for aluminum, it works for steel, stainless, everything I've tried to weld with it, it welds great. So that's what I suggest. So I usually start out with just a 3/32, and that's what we're going to do today. So I've already got a 3/32 electrode. You will have to sharpen them when they come. So most people use a diamond wheel to sharpen theirs. I do have a diamond wheel, but I also have a belt sander that I have set up with a zirconium, a blue zirconium belt. And so for me, it's just a lot faster. I use my belt sander. And you basically want to hold it upright and let the grinder go downward, because you want your grinding scratches to go in line with the tungsten. I usually grind at about a 25 to 30 degree angle for most of my TIG welding. And that's what I've done with this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our torch. For most TIG welding, unless I'm welding really small, I usually go with a number 6. Sometimes if I'm welding aluminum down into a corner, I'll pick a number 5, but number 6 is pretty universal. So basically you just take your collet holder, thread it up in, And then thread your ceramic cup down onto it. After that, we're going to drop in our 3/32 collet, and then we're going to get our handle. This handle is what tightens down the collet. So then you want to drop in your electrode, and then as you screw this down in, it has an O-ring and it seals against the body. I then set my tungsten to stick out usually about 1/4 of an inch. Sometimes I go a little bit less, sometimes I go a little bit more, just depending on whether I'm welding down into a corner, you know, a fillet weld with aluminum. I usually have a little more of a stick out. If I'm welding, you know, small, thin material on the bench, a lot of times I'll pull it back just so I can get a really good shielding cone around the tungsten. Alright, so we're all set up with our torch. Okay, so I just want to show the control pad. It's a pretty feature-friendly layout. It has a control knob that allows you to select through your features, as well as push button to select, and then you turn the knob to change values on the screen. I'm just going to turn it on now. One of the things that I like about this is that it has a automatic fan that only comes on when it needs cooling. So basically it stays on amps, and right now I have it set on 100 amps. You can change your amps at any time when in this setting. You can see the A for amps. I have it on 2T. You can go to 4T if you were using the push button on the torch. You could do it, you know, on and then stay on, off to stop a second time. So I don't use 4T usually, but you can also go to spot weld. It'll do a spot for you. Most of the time I use the foot pedal and I'm on 2T. Right now I have it on AC straight. This next one would be AC square wave pulse. So this is for pulse welding. And then we go to DC straight, DC pulse, and then stick welder. Over here, obviously we already talked about the amps. If you push the button once, you'll go up to AC frequency. I have it set at 100 Hertz right now. I usually weld aluminum around 100 to 120, depending on how thick it is. If I'm welding really thick aluminum, I'll bump it down to 50 or 60. But that's how you can change your AC frequency. It's only when you're on AC. Next one is AC balance. This is also for when you're welding aluminum. This is your cleaning, basically, for when you're welding aluminum. It cleans the metal ahead of your puddle and kind of etches it. Next we have your downslope. This is how much time you want it to downslope as you're coming off of a weld. The next one after that is your ending amps. It'll go down to 25 amps is what I have it set, instead of however many you were welding at. When you let off the pedal, it'll downslope and then it will go to 25 amps. And this, with your little bottle right there, is your post flow of your argon after you stop welding. I have it set for about 4.7 seconds right now. This is your electrode size right here. It'll go down to this one. You can turn it from 2.4, 1 millimeter, 1.6, 2, 2.4, 3.2. So you'll have to do a conversion. I'm using 3/32, so that is also 2.4 millimeter. Next we have our start gas. I have it start usually 0.2 to 0.4 worth of a second before the arc starts, before the high frequency starts. Next thing I do is your start amps. This one's set at 25 right now, just to get the arc started. I usually don't go down below that unless I'm welding really, really thin, because it gives you a better jump start on your high frequency start, just to have a little bit more amps. If you're obviously welding really thin sheet metal, you're going to bump that down. After that, you have your upslope, and that's how many seconds you want it to slowly come up into your full amps. And I have mine, both of my upslope and downslope, on 0 because I've been welding aluminum and I just want it to go right to the amps that my pedal is holding. So right now I have it set at 130 amps. Later on I'm going to do a full setup on all the advanced features that this welder has, like pulse and DC pulse, and how to change the parameters and that sort of thing. But for right now, this is all to get you going. It's a very simple, intuitive pad to work with. One of the things that I had to look in the manual to figure it out is that when you hook up your foot pedal, you have to sense it, and I'll do it right now. So what you do is you press down on the pedal and you hold it for a few seconds. Your gas will come on, your high frequency will start, and in a few seconds you'll see that light go on. What that is the welder is sensing that you don't have the trigger on the torch activated. You're now using the foot pedal because it's sensing a variable resistance. So all you have to do is hold the pedal down for a few seconds, wait till that red light goes on, and then it knows you're using your foot pedal for amperage control. If you just turn on the welder, it automatically thinks that you're using your TIG torch with the button. So one of the things you have to remember is make sure you hold down your pedal before you start welding. Wait till the light comes on, and then it knows you're using your foot pedal. Alright, that's enough talk about this. Let's run some beads and show you how this thing welds. Alright, so now that we got it all set up, I'm going to hook up my ground clamp to my table, and I'll run some beads and show you how this thing welds. Alright, one of the most important things with TIG welding is cleanliness. One of the things you want to invest in is a bottle of acetone. I generally clean everything down to bare metal, and then I also wipe it down with acetone to make sure I get all grease, all oil, any contaminants out of the weld, because TIG welding is not that difficult, especially for mild steel and stainless. But for aluminum, you basically have to be spotless for it to come out nice. So one of the things I usually do is wipe down the joint. I've got it already wire wheeled down to bare metal to get the oxidation out. I've already acetoned the stainless, the mild steel, and the aluminum, and I'm just going to wipe down the aluminum before we get going. One of the things you want to do is make sure you close up your acetone and get the rag away from where you're welding, because acetone is extremely flammable and you don't want anything to catch fire while you're under the hood. So the first thing I'm going to TIG weld is some 1/8 inch mild steel. I've got the welder set on 120 amps, and I've got it all clean. I've got a good comfortable spot here. Get my helmet on.
Alright, that was 1/8 inch cold rolled steel, and now I'm going to switch the machine up. I've tacked up some 11 gauge aluminum diamond plate. I've got the welder set at 150 amps, 35% AC balance, 85 for frequency, and 150 amps on the amperage. Alright, I'll show you a bead running some aluminum. Alright, so here's a couple of the aluminum pieces I welded. First one was the 1/8 inch 6061, and the second one was some aluminum 1/8 inch, it may only be 11 gauge diamond plate aluminum.
Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for how to set up your YESWELDER 250p AC/DC TIG. If you have any questions about settings, or how to set it up, or if there's something you can't figure out, just go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll try and respond and see if I can figure out how to help you. So it's a great little welder, and I think you'd be happy with it. Just practice, practice, practice. That's really all you need to do with a TIG. It just takes a lot of practice, especially with aluminum welding. So anyway, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.